Welcome to the Get Real Podcast, your high-octane boost of full-on reality therapy for personal, business, and investing success with your host, Ron Phillips, because somebody's got to tell it like it is.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Get Real Podcast. Ron Phillips here with Heather Marchant.
Hey, everyone.
Man, Heather, I've been in Florida 2 weeks in a row.
That's true.
And
you've been traveling a lot.
Way more than I want to. And I tell people I've been in Florida, they're like, oh, whack, Crimey River. Yeah, the weather was nice, but I was inside the whole time. I mean, I guess on breaks, I would walk outside and,
but you
and
also
think about
live
how
in
nice
Charleston.
it was that if I had some trunks and some time and I could just lay by the pool like everybody else. Sorry, what were you saying?
I said, but you also live in Charleston, so it's not like
also don't feel bad for me. Yeah,
but
because
it's not like a big difference. Yes,
I don't know, 50 feet away from me right now, and I could go get
exactly
put shorts on and go. Yeah, right now, Heather.
True. I'm glad you have priorities.
Like 77 outside right now.
Priorities.
Okay. I bring up the trip because what we're going to talk about today comes from that trip.
Yeah, I will say that we had planned this presentation like 2 months ago, what you would discuss. And I said I would take on one piece, which was this piece we're going to talk about today. And I put it off until the night before. You were probably asleep. I was on a flight putting all this together. And I texted Ron and I said, hey, just so you know, when you wake up, this is going to be on slides, 14.
Like while I'm in Utah or while I'm in
while you're already there,
Florida,
you're presenting at 9 a.m. It's going to be fine.
Yeah, it was, and it was great. But I learned something interesting down there. I was just talking to Heather. Everybody, I was just like, this isn't your typical group that we speak to, where people don't know about investing in real estate and they don't understand, and they don't know about money, and they don't understand finances and any of that. I mean,
yeah.
Am I going out too far on a limb to say these people are rather financially savvy?
Yeah, I would say they are. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So it was a little bit shocking to me that when we threw these examples out, that they didn't know what to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody got the answer right. Not that it was, it was kind of subjective, but when they gave me their answer, I just said, okay, so back up your answer. Either answer would have been fine. They just needed to back up their answer. And when they started to back up their answer, they had the math wrong. That's what I'm talking about. So it was a subjective answer, but math is not subjective.
Yeah.
And I know that, people in education these days think that math is all kinds of things, including subjective, but it is not. It is actually right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You get no points for trying. You actually have to have it right. And because of that, Heather and I decided to do something that is really difficult. So if you're in a car listening to this, which I know some of you are, this is going to test your brain power, because we are going to do numbers without the ability for you to see them. But this is really important.
Yeah, it's worth it, I think, to try.
So we're going to try. You guys, let us know in the comments, how wickedly we failed on this. But this is going to be our attempt at trying to make it so that you understand. We've talked about these things before on the show, but I don't think we talked about them in enough detail that people understand how to do the math.
And I think to leave it open-ended, we usually just tell the answers, right? Like this is you guys have got to learn how to do the math a little bit. So.
And I think one of the cool things about the slides that Heather made, everybody, is that she put enough information in there. It's like word problems from, middle school and high school, right? It's the ones that everybody's like, gosh, dang it, I have to read the whole stupid thing. Yeah, you do. And you need different pieces in there, and some of the pieces you don't need, and that's kind of what it was. Mm-hmm. So I was really good at these. Not to toot my own horn, but toot. Okay, I was really good at these. All right. So the reason for all of this, Heather, tell everybody what the reasoning behind our.
Yeah. So they actually, the group had requested from me that people don't know what to do with their equity. This was a few months ago. So even before, it's just like the last 2 months, things have amped up even more, right? So what do you do with your equity? How do you know if it's time to sell your property? And by and large, if you've had property for a couple of years, you probably have some equity in it. Just, I mean, shooting from the hip over here, that you probably have some equity.
There are very few markets that went down in value. Let's put it that way.
Yes. So it's really looking at the whole picture, though, because I met with a client on one of these. I met with him and went through the options, and we dissected the numbers, we dissected the details, and in the end, both of us were like, "Yeah, you could go either way. You could sell or you could keep it." I mean, because it is subjective, but you have to really understand the details of what your questions should be, because man, it's really easy to just say, "Oh man, I have 50 grand in equity. I could buy another property."
Yep.
But then to really look at the details. So
yeah, and I told him, depending on what the numbers are, there's also a pain in the butt factor here.
Mhm.
So if the property is a royal pain in your butt, which some of them are, let's just be honest about it. If you own 5 or 10 properties, you're bound to have a dog in the bunch.
Yep.
And Heather, we've talked about this before too, that I mean, we've sold properties, exact same property, like a block away from each other. One sits vacant, the other one rents. Same rent, same everything. Really, everything's the same. Sometimes there is this property that just has a cloud over it and there's nothing you can do about it. And that has to play into this decision as well. But today, we're just going to do math.
That's right. Math is my favorite subject.
Now,
and the reason I love what I do.
Some of you are going to turn this episode off now, and that will be to your detriment.
That's right. That's right.
Because some pretty financially savvy people in this room, there must have been 50 or 60 people in there, and they just didn't know how to do this. So without further ado, we're going to do an example of a property. It doesn't really matter where this is, but this one happens to be in North Carolina. So it doesn't really matter that it was built in 1981. Here's all the cool facts that you don't need. House was built in 1981, purchased in 2016, all kind of irrelevant for what we're going to do, but fun facts anyway. Bought it for $80,000. So it's actually $79,900, but we're going to make the math as easy as possible on your drive today or whenever you're listening to this. So I'll just say really quickly, if you're not driving and you can write this down, just write it down.
Yeah.
Not type it, actually write it down so that you can watch how this flows. Okay. And if you're old school like me, you can draw the line, you can do this, you can do all the cool old school math that actually gets the right answer. Please, nobody do. What's the new math called, Heather?
Oh, I can't remember what it's called.
Whatever that stupid new math is, don't do that.
The triangles,
okay.
You mean, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Common Core. Don't do Common Core. Don't do Common Core math or you'll get a wrong answer. Maybe that's what everybody there was doing. Common Core math. It could be.
Could be. That could be the problem.
Okay. Purchase for $80,000 with 20% down. Okay. So if you get your calculator and you need it, it's okay to break it out. You're going to need that number, the 20% down number. Okay. Now, before somebody comments that there's closing costs and a whole bunch of other things, we're trying to keep this really simple. Okay. Money in, 20% down. 20% of 80,000 is 16,000. Okay. Interest rate is 5%. Now we gave you the interest rate is 5% because that's how you're going to figure out your payment. Okay. And since I don't have the payment, but I do have what you really need here, and that is total expenses are $550 a month. Okay. Had a lease at $900 a month, but now rent can go to $1,200 a month. Holy crap. That is That's a solid increase right there, people.
And this is a real example, like real happened example.
Real happened example. Now the property is worth 130,000. Okay. So then I just asked the room, with all of that information, should you keep it or should you sell it? So the first, there's two calculations here. First, I asked everybody to figure out what the return on investment was. So when this property was purchased, what was the return on investment?
Oh.
And if you don't recall, return on investment is annualized cash flow. Okay, so we know that the property was rented for $900 a month, and we know that the expenses were $550 a month, which leaves us $350 a month for cash flow. And if you multiply that by 12 to annualize it, that's $4,200. Okay. In order to get your return on investment, you take that annualized cash flow and you divide it by what you have in the property. Okay. Which is, if you guys all remember, 16,000.
Yeah.
Okay. So divided by 16,000. I'm actually, those of you who can see me, I am cheating. I'm doing this right along with you. Here we go. That is a 26% cash on cash return. So that's hella good, in case you were wondering, like, we can't reproduce that today. That's a really, really good deal because it was from 2016, people, 8 years ago. Okay. All right. Now what we need to figure out is the return on equity. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, cool. Well, the equity in the property it's worth 130,000, remember? And the property cost 80,000. So the equity in the property is
50,000.
50,000. Okay. But one of the mistakes that everybody made is that they didn't include their down payment. Right.
And also, Ron, I put in the year that it was purchased in case anyone
I know. And to not make things complicated today, Heather, we're not going to do that. But we did have a conversation about this because somebody astute there said, yeah, but didn't you have principal pay down too? Yeah, actually 8 years of principal pay down. Well, at least 7 years of principal pay down, right? And that's not insignificant either. But let's just keep the math super simple. Okay. So we have $50,000 worth of equity that the market gave us.
Thank
and then
you.
Heather, we've got another 16. So we're at 66. Okay.
Yep.
Now, how do we figure out return on equity, Heather?
Take your annual cash flow that we just calculated, but at the new rent. Are you doing it twice with the old rent and the new rent, or just
let's do both, because let's just make sure, because if you don't have this crazy substantial increase in rent, then you would just be where you are, right? So let's say you just have a tenant in the property, they're still paying you 900 and you've got 50,000. Let's do the math. Okay. Yeah.
So it'd be 4,200 in annual cash flow when it's leased at $900, and you divide that by the $66,000. I also have a calculator pulled up, and that is 6.3%.
Okay. So at this point, you've got some. This is where the subjective piece comes in. Okay. There's no right or wrong answer to this, by the way. Okay. But what you need to ask yourself is, okay, can I do better than 6% cash on cash return? And the answer is absolutely you can. So where does the subjective piece come in here, Heather?
Well, it's that how long have you owned it? Do you have a good paying tenant? Do you have a long-term tenant? And with this property, hey, the rent just went up and it got leased at that amount. So
okay, well, let's figure it at the new amount, because that actually is important to this one. But let's just say that didn't happen.
Yeah.
What would you be thinking about as an owner of this property with a 6%, you got $50,000 of equity staring you in the face?
Well, I could look at doing a cash out refinance, but the problem is the loan amount's really small. So it's really hard to get a lender to do a cash out refinance on such a low loan amount, actually. And so that kind of eliminates that as a solid option. And they also ding you with a higher rate for having a lower mortgage amount. So loan amount, I mean. So that was, that's an issue on this one. So selling it, I did, if I do a 1031 exchange and cost segregation on the property I sold, the depreciation recapture, like all of those things you have to weigh in the balance. And then also in this market, making sure you can get a replacement property within that 45-day designation period. So there's a lot of, do you have time to get pre-approved? Do you have time to handle it? Yeah.
And, like going back to, do you have a really solid tenant that's taking really good care of your property? So is it worth rolling the dice for increased rent? Could you increase the rent, $50 to $100 and they stay, because in order for them to move and get something that nice, they have to pay $1,200. You're still under market rent. So there's a lot of different things that you can factor in here. Okay.
Yep.
But you can't factor in any of that if you don't have the data.
Yeah.
All right. So this is really, really important. Now, the next piece of the data is, I think, helps to make that decision, right? Because, well, if the rent's going up to $1,200 a month, that means now your cash flow is not $4,200 a month or a year. It's $7,800 a year. Okay. Now, if you've got your calculator out, or if you're doing this on paper, old school, you take 7,800 and you divide that by the 66,000, and all of a sudden you've got a little different story here, because now you're making basically 12% on your money, all of the equity. So your return on equity is 12%. It's not as good as when you purchased the property in 2016, but it's still really, really attractive, because I mean, can you legitimately sell that, go through all the pain in the butt that it's going to be to be able to sell that and replace the property? And can you do that and make more than 12% cash on cash return, especially if you've got a really solid, good paying tenant in a nice area?
Yeah.
It's going to be really difficult in today's market to do that. So your money's still making really, really good money. And isn't it nice to know that? Now, if the only piece of information you had was that the property went up $50,000 and you had $66,000 sitting there, that'd be pretty tempting to just sell. But I'm not sure that would be the right answer in this particular scenario.
So did they say to sell this one in the?
They did.
Yeah.
They did. And if you do the math, if you even do the math the correct way with 50,000 instead of 66, you're down below your single digits, which again, if you're high single digits right now, it still might not be worth selling it, because like Heather said, it's going to be a pain in the butt to do it.
Yeah.
And
1031 exchanges right now are extremely stressful. And I've had probably half a dozen people referred to me in their last week of designating property multiple times in the last 6 months. They're like, hey, talk to Heather, she'll help you.
And not with like 50,000.
Yeah.
Like with $500,000, $1 million, or $1.5 million.
I had 12 million. One with 12 million. And he had a week.
if you have waited until a week to call us because you thought you were going to be able to do this on your own, you're probably going to end up with less than you need, because the inventory is just. And I told this room too. I said, look, you got to understand the game you're playing right now as well. Okay. There's a lot of money chasing very few deals. The real estate that we are getting right now is so far and away better than what we're seeing out in the market. I mean, Heather, it's amazing. We don't necessarily care about our competitors, but we do occasionally take a look, just to see if we're in line, and we so beat them. I mean, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
So we have really, really solid performing properties, but we don't have enough for everybody. So anyway, if you've been thinking about this, you need to do your math, figure it out. And then if you want to do a 1031 exchange, give us a little notice, right? A week we'll still help you, but it would have been a whole lot nicer to have 45 days then.
Well, and most of these people, Ron, I sent them property. They could have satisfied their 1031 exchange, but it was too fast for them to make a decision. The ones that didn't move forward, it was because one of them just bailed and said, "I'll just pay the taxes. I don't have enough time to make a decision," because they left it too short. So
while they did have enough time,
yes,
they don't now.
Yes. Exactly.
Anyway, so I hope that was helpful. Heather and I rolled the dice on this one. We have never really done anything with that, deep of numbers.
Yeah.
Because it's really, really hard to do without some kind of a visual.
And you know what? We'll post this in our Facebook group. We can post the example in the Facebook group, and then maybe we'll post another one and see if you guys can do the math. That might be fun.
Yeah. So if you're not in the Facebook group, reach out and join. It's a lot of fun. We get a lot of people in there who are happy to help, comment, and
answer questions.
Anyway, it's a great group.
Yeah. Reach out to us, invest@rpcinvest.com, and we'll send you the link, because you might join another group that's not ours if we just tried to tell you the name.
Okay. So I think that at least now you should be able to figure out return on equity versus your return on your cash on cash return, right? They're basically the same thing. You just do one with all of the equity. Most important thing is to remember all of your equity. So in this particular one, we didn't do principal reduction, but there was substantial principal reduction. I mean, it was 7 years worth of principal reduction. So it would have been many thousands of dollars that are still in there that you would have to do all of that. Okay. So one of the things that we're doing to make this easy now, and we're not doing this because you shouldn't know how to do the math. We're doing this to make it easy from a time perspective. Okay. Mm-hmm. We've been talking to you guys about our software that we built for a long time, and we are currently launching it.
So exciting.
Yes, I know. I actually was talking to a friend of mine the other day. He said, "How's your software going?" I said, "We're about ready to launch." He goes, "You haven't launched that yet? What's your problem?" I said, "Well, we want it to be right." He goes, "It's not ever going to be perfect, dude. You just got to launch it and then, add what people want." And he's right. But I don't want to, it's pretty good. It's pretty good, Heather. We did wait probably a little longer than we should have, but it's pretty good. So one of the cool things, Heather, that I'm not going to take away Heather's thunder, because she's been working super, super hard on this. This is like her brainchild, so to speak.
It is really fun. Most people maybe don't know this about me, but I was an accounting major. And then I changed to I know. I changed to computer information systems, but I decided that I liked people too much. And that was my main reason that I said, I can't keep going down this path. I love people, and I love helping people. And I'm not going to get that in the same way that I want, like not the interaction. So this project has really blended a lot of my favorite things, which is people, helping people, and numbers. So
and spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets. I love color coding, all the things. So the investor portal is going to give our clients the ability to know their market value from a local agent, not from a computer generated number or a tax generated number. It's going to be an actual based on comps number, which is amazing. Super
excited. It really is amazing, guys. And we tried so hard to find a good data set.
Yeah.
And there isn't a plug and play data set. There just isn't, especially in a market like we have right now.
Yeah.
3 months from now, things could be wildly different than they are today.
Yes.
And those data sets are behind. We're finding that they're behind quite a bit, actually. Mm-hmm. And
this will be updated quarterly as planned. But if we see, a huge bump in the market, we can pivot if we need to.
So this was Heather's idea. And I actually said, that'll never work, Heather. We can't do that. So I went down the road trying to get the data. And I finally came back and, after plugging in 2 or 3 different data sets, I was just like, this is horrible data. I mean, it's horrible data.
Yes. It was like tax assessed value was the market value. It was horrible.
And we were trying to figure out like how to, and thanks to Zillow and all of the other people who basically screwed the Realtors Association over, the National Association of Realtors said, yeah, screw you. We're not going to share our data anymore.
Yep.
So once they did that, I mean, Zillow was already pretty bad, but then it got worse because they don't have any supporting from any real comps unless they're in a reporting state. So if you're in a state that doesn't require reporting, Zillow is pathetic.
Yeah.
Because they literally can't get the data anymore because they pissed off the National Association of Realtors. So we actually, because Heather built out this system, we actually have local realtors that we work with in all of the markets where our properties are, and they are going to quarterly pull all the data that we need.
It's going to be beautiful.
And it's going to be amazing. So anyway, we're super excited for you guys to try that. We have been working on this for a long, long time. That's not all it does, though.
No, that's like just one piece. That's the most recent one I'm working on. So that piece will then calculate the return on equity for you. Bam. So all the math we just did will be a number that's in front of your face when you log in. I'm very excited about that.
There will be no excuses for you to not know what your return on equity is. And then you can make all of these. And if you want to call in and say, oh, I got to talk through this property because I don't know, we'll help you with that piece. But at least we'll have the data set that we need to be able to make the appropriate decisions. Yep. But it will also do many other things for you.
Well, you can link other properties that you already own. A lot of clients bought other properties before meeting us. And so they've asked me so many times, can I bring in my old properties that I didn't buy with you guys? And I said, yes. So that's running right now. And I've already told our local agents that we may get a bump in new properties uploaded to the portal, that we may pull one more data set, as Ron said, with market values. And then we can analyze the actual monthly statements. It syncs to your property management portal. I know.
Don't lie, Heather.
And it's like so great because we have a team in the background analyzing the data and finding discrepancies that have helped me with my portfolio. I'm like, wait, where did that charge come from? Right? Because it's breaking it out. And I actually just directed them this last week that if it's an unidentified expense, it goes into other so that it can let you know as the owner, like, look, we couldn't categorize this based on the report. And so it can be a flag for you to take note. Also other income, when a tenant like reimburses you for something you paid for, or a pet deposit or something like that it'll get broken out into other separate of the rent. Table structure, reporting. Oh my gosh. Like you'll know your actual
storage.
Cash flow. Yes, document storage.
There's a whole contact list. I mean, if you bought a property from us, everybody that you could possibly need to contact about your property is all stored in there. It is really, really cool, all the things you can do with it. In addition, if you haven't already used the text alert system, there is a text alert system in there, and we are plugging it in. The next cool thing we're building is an integration with the property management companies so that they can actually communicate better with you, how you would like to be communicated with, mostly about the thing that drives everybody mad, which is maintenance.
Yep.
Maintenance approvals, maintenance requests. Anyway, we're very excited about it. We've had some people beta testing it for quite a while, including Heather. And it's going to launch. So we're going to be sending out emails, but you guys heard it first. So here it is. We are delivering it on the podcast first, and it will do a lot of these. So you can log in anytime. If you have 8 properties, 10 properties, you can log in. You can see what your whole portfolio is doing. You can see what the individual properties are doing, and you can see that on all 4 returns, which is so cool. Yes. Cash on cash return, appreciation, depreciation, and finally, last but not least, the one that you probably would have a harder time unless you looked at your mortgage statements, and that's principal reduction.
Yep.
Right? because it automatically generates the amortization schedule for you and just calculates it. It's fantastic. So,
and you can go in and actually override stuff too. So if it auto calculates depreciation at a 25% tax bracket at 27 and a half years, and if you did cost segregation on your property, you can go in and override and put in your depreciation every year. And then you have actual depreciation return too, which rocks.
Yep.
So,
and I think this is the other thing that gets lost with people, because the thing that's in front of your face every single month is your cash on cash return.
mm-hmm.
If you have 1 month where the HVAC system goes out and you have to pay for a new HVAC system,
Yep.
well, your cash flow went away for the year. It's gone, maybe a year and a half, depending on how big the system was. And that's all you will focus on. And you may end up cutting off your nose to spite your face, or stepping over dollar bills to pick up nickels, as I like to say, all because the only thing you're looking at is the cash flow. It's not the only return. We harp on it here because properties should positive cash flow, because if the HVAC goes bad, the property should have been able to cover it.
Yep.
Right. But let's not forget the other three that are actively working all the time for you. Okay. So anyway, that will put them front and center in your face. You'll be able to see what your portfolio is doing, just like you would your stock portfolio. It'll be fantastic. So if you're interested in that, Heather, they just reach out at
invest@rpcinvest.com. Email us and we'll send you instructions on how to log in, and we'll create an account for you if you don't have an account. And then you will need to upgrade your account. So when you log in, we'll send instructions for that as well. This is an account upgrade because we have a whole DI team in the background making this run. There's lots of little men running in a wheel to make this wheel spin. And so we are going to...
Technically, they are women and men.
True. I always call it the hamster in the wheel. So I was thinking...
Yeah, so they're
actually, it's true. Mostly women team, huh?
There's such a great team over there. And anyway, they've made this thing hum. So
that's right.
We hope that it hums for you. Sign up. We'd love to hear your feedback. Actually,
that's right.
Love to hear your feedback.
We are looking at doing a free trial, and then after that, it'll be a small subscription fee. So.
Yeah, and it's going to be so insignificant to your portfolio anyway, we made it that it would be that way.
That's right.
Okay, for you guys first, and we're going to start emailing out. So jump on the train. Yep.
Be the first one on there because we'll have more time to get it set up and ready for you.
So easy for me. I'm an early adopter, Heather. I'm an early adopter. For all of you who are not early adopters, jump on there and see what this thing will do, because I think even if you're not an early adopter, it will make your life much, much easier. That's at least why we designed it and built it. So
that's your make something happen for this week.
That is your make something happen for this week. So go make it happen. In addition to that, those of you got your paper out and started writing, make sure you understand this. And if you don't understand, email us. We'll jump on a call with you guys and make sure you get this, because this is all really important stuff.
The math's so important. And if you have friends that own real estate, tell them about it.
Yes.
Anyone can come and get an account on the portal.
Share this boring episode with them too, so they can understand math as well.
That's right.
I promise we won't do math on the next one. All right, everybody. Till next time, get out there and make something happen.
Thanks, guys.
This has been the Get Real Podcast. To subscribe and for more information, including a list of all episodes, go to getrealestatesuccess.com.